Hello, I'm Morteza, and welcome to the Voices Under Dark channel. Let's get to tonight's story. But before we start, if you can, please give the video a like so I can get some energy from you. Let's get to the story. I thought everything would end with a handful of pills. I thought I'd finally be free from this damned life, but I was wrong. Death isn't the way they say it is. There was no light, no peace. There was only darkness, a heavy darkness that took everything alive from you. The sound of my mother's screams, the constant beeping of the machines, and my lifeless body on the hospital bed. I was watching everything from above, but I couldn't go back anymore. When that damned light said, "Follow me," I realized I was entering a place with no way back. A place where every step brings back a painful memory, and every sound reopens an old wound. It was full of terror and fear there, full of fire and unbelievable torments. That night I saw death with my own eyes. I came back, but I still can't believe what a terrifying thing I experienced there. Hello, my name is Afsaneh and I am 55 years old. I have 2 daughters. My husband lost his life in an accident about 10 years ago. From that day on, my life turned into working double shifts, sleeplessness, exhaustion, and a whole lot of loneliness. But to be honest, my misery started long before that, ever since I opened my eyes to this world. I don't know if you believe in luck or not, but from the very beginning, it was as if misfortune was stamped on my forehead. My mother herself came from a poor, addicted family. Her father, for a few days' worth of free drugs, sold her, when she was only 14, to a 34-year-old addicted drug dealer. Do you know what that means? It means she never even had a chance to be a child. My mother got pregnant by that man very soon, and that child was me. But my mother hated my father because of his abuse and humiliation. That's why she hated me too, because I was a reminder of that man for her. My mother's hatred for me stayed with her until the day she died. When I was 4, my father overdosed and died because of heavy drug use. They say he was rich and had a lot of property, but everything ended up in my mother's hands. 3 years later, she got married again, this time to someone she loved. My mother told me she would only take care of me if I worked like a construction laborer. Basically, at the age of 7, I became my mother's maid. Every morning I was woken up by my mother's beatings, and every night I went to sleep after being beaten by my father. My whole day would pass with my mother humiliating me in front of the other kids. She would say, "You are the reason for my misery." She'd say, "I wish I had strangled you back then so you wouldn't have survived." And I, who every day and night wondered what sin I had committed to deserve so much suffering and misery. I want you to know what made me do that horrible thing on that damn night. I was only 15 years old. All my life, all I ever heard were words like worthless, unlucky, cursed, and other filthy insults. I had been beaten and never uttered a word. But that night, that damn night, something broke inside my heart. I went into the kitchen and found a few packs of pills. I opened them all and swallowed them at once. I thought this way I'd finally be free. I thought my misery would finally end. I took the pills and went to sleep. After half an hour, because of the vomiting and the noise I was making, everyone found out. So that my death wouldn't be blamed on them, they quickly took me to the hospital. In the emergency room, I lost consciousness and didn't understand anything after that. It was there that I saw death with my own eyes. They say when a person dies, they see a tunnel of light. They feel a sense of peace. It's as if all their sorrows suddenly vanish into thin air. But for me, it wasn't like that at all. I only saw darkness, a suffocating, heavy darkness that wouldn't let me breathe at all. At first, I thought I was still unconscious, but no, something was different here. Because I could hear the sounds around me. My mother's screams, the doctor's whispering, and the continuous beep of a machine showing my heart had stopped. For a moment, I felt my body getting lighter, like when you're falling asleep and suddenly feel like you're falling. But this time, there was no falling. I was actually separating from the ground. My eyes opened, but not with my own body. From above myself, from above, I saw myself lying lifeless on the bed. Tubes were in my mouth, and the nurses were gathered around the bed. A doctor was pressing the defibrillator on my chest. I saw a woman. Maybe she was with another patient. She was standing by the door of the room, crying. That woman kept whispering, "Come back, girl, come back young." But I couldn't come back. I wanted to call out to them, but no sound came out of my mouth. I just felt like I was moving away from my body and being drawn toward a light. A light that was neither warm nor cold, something in between both. A light that wanted to pull me in but also felt like a kind of threat. Suddenly, a calm but penetrating voice came from within that light. That voice said, "Follow me." So I went. With every step I took forward, the sounds of the hospital grew more and more distant, until there was only silence. I found myself in the middle of a tunnel. Its walls seemed to be alive. They were breathing. With every inhale and exhale, strange sounds would come, frightening and bizarre sounds. The sound of a baby crying, the moan of a woman, the laughter of an old woman. And among all of them, I heard my own voice too. Those times when I was a child, crying under the blanket. The further I went, the louder and more jumbled the sounds became, until that light turned into a thick fog that even burned my eyes. I don't know how far I went, but suddenly a terrifying voice from within the fog said to me, "Did you want to die? Now see what suicide really means." The ground opened up beneath my feet. I fell. For a long time I just felt like I was falling until finally I hit the ground. All around me was filled with fire. I found myself in a place you couldn't call earth nor sky. Everything seemed to be made of tar. The ground stuck to the soles of my feet, like when your hand touches glue or tar and you can't pull it away. The air was hot, so hot that it took your breath away. As I went further, I saw flames of fire all around me. The smell of roasted and burnt meat filled everywhere. The atmosphere was extremely frightening. I started walking, and with every step I took, shadows gathered around me. At first, the shadows were just dark. Then, little by little, they started to take shape and form faces. Some of them had faces, some of them didn't. Some of them looked like ordinary people. But if you looked at them for a moment, you'd see their skin cracking and falling to the ground. Their flesh would come apart. It was as if they were being punished. The sound of screaming and shouting filled everywhere. I saw someone being pressed against a hot pillar. Their skin melted like wax and dripped off. There was no mercy there. There was no logic at all. It was just punishment after punishment, over and over again. After a few minutes of being there, I saw a scene that took my breath away. A shadow came up beside me, standing right in front of me. He looked very familiar to me. When he came closer, I recognized him completely. My eyes filled with tears because I didn't want to believe it. It was the same man who had been our neighbor years ago, the husband of the neighbor woman, who always harassed me and touched me inappropriately. His name was Hussein. I was terrified of him. There I saw Hussein being spun over a pile of flames, but not with ordinary fire. It was a huge fire with tall flames, so hot you could feel the heat from several meters away. He was begging me for forgiveness. It was impossible to even look at those scenes. Everywhere you looked was filled with pain and suffering. Amidst all that fear and chaos, I saw another scene that made my heart burst with terror. I saw my mother, but not the mother I used to know. My mother had become like a shadow there. Her face looked even more frightening. She shouted loudly and told me, "You were the cause of everything." She said, "You are the reason for all the suffering in my life and after my death." I was about to faint from fear and terror. Right there, in the midst of all that horror, someone grabbed my hand and pulled me back. I turned around and saw that the man I had seen in the white light had come forward again. This time his face was a bit clearer. He was an old man dressed in white, but his eyes were strange. They shone and glowed like light. He told me, "Look, all of this is part of your burden. Not just what you endured, but also what you could have been. Then, with a gesture, the scenes changed. He took me into a dark hall where it seemed like thousands of thin curtains were hanging from above. The curtains were drawn aside one by one, and behind each curtain, a different life of mine was shown. Lives that I might have had if I had made better choices. Behind one of the curtains, I saw myself, calm and happy, with a good spouse, a life full of joy. In the next curtain, I saw myself yelling at my child, and the child was hiding under a blanket out of fear. I was telling that child, "You are the reason for all my misfortunes." Then, in the next curtain, I saw myself mercilessly humiliating someone just for having money. At the end of each scene, a loud laugh could be heard. A laugh that seemed to come from the depths of my own being. It was as if those lives wanted to show that if I were in some people's place, I would have done those bad things too. I don't know. I never understood the reason. All of this wasn't for punishment, but rather, it was like a lesson for me. The man in white told me, "You had a choice and you still do. You can experience a better life by making better choices. It's still not too late for you. You're going to go back. Because of the hardships you've endured in life, you deserve a second chance. But don't forget, someone who commits suicide and shows weakness in the face of difficulties will face a bitter and hard life in the next world. No creature likes the weak." He talked to me for a few minutes and showed me terrifying scenes from the world of Barzakh, scenes that still scare me whenever I remember them. Everywhere there were screams and fire was blazing. He asked me, "Are you ready?" Everything was gradually fading away. The man in white put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Now go back. Try to make up for your life. The world gives everyone a chance to experience the life they deserve, but it's a hard task. You have to have faith. You must be consistent in your actions, and hope is the key point in life. If you want to experience a happy life in this world and the hereafter, try to be a better person, help others, and build a good life for yourself." He told me that from time to time, a few of the shadows will visit you on earth to check on your situation. Suddenly, I felt a strange pain in my chest, and there was a loud, terrifying sound. Then, a very gentle light pulled me upward, and I woke up again in the hospital bed. The sound of the machines, the fluorescent light, and the nurse shouting, "Doctor, the patient is back." I just stared at the ceiling and took a deep breath from the bottom of my heart. I thank God for giving me the chance to come back and make up for the mistakes in my life. I remember in the world between life and death, that man in white told me, the only thing in life that will help you achieve everything in this world and the hereafter is helping people, helping others progress, and lending a hand to those around you. This is the golden rule of human life. A few days after the accident, I was discharged from the hospital. My mother came to pick me up, cold and emotionless, and said, "Only God had mercy. Otherwise we would have lost our reputation." On the way through the doors and past the neighbors, she neither hugged me nor even looked at me. She was just silent. But I was no longer the same person I used to be. I felt like a part of my soul was still wandering in that hot, dark world. The first night I came back home, I couldn't sleep properly. In the silence of the night, I could hear the ticking of the clock, but between each tick-tock, there was another sound. I went toward the kitchen and turned on the lights. The bulb flickered and went out. In the glass of the cabinet, I saw the reflection of something white, a man in a light-colored robe, the same one I had seen in the tunnel. I saw him for just a moment, and then he disappeared. I didn't sleep at all that night. I thought about my past and my future. The next chapters of my life kept getting stranger and stranger. Whatever I did, I felt like someone was watching me. Whenever I did something good, a special sense of peace would come over me. But if I wronged someone, or even told a simple lie, that same night I would dream of purgatory. I would end up back there, the same fires, the same voices, but this time they were different. One night I saw a small shadow standing in a corner of that dark world staring at me, but he wasn't in the fire. I asked the man in white, "Who is that?" He said, "It's the person you need to forgive so that you yourself can be forgiven." A few days later, I realized that the shadow was Hossein, the same man who used to be the nightmare of my childhood. I thought about him all day until evening. I didn't want to believe it, but something inside me said we had to finish this story. I went to the cemetery where I knew Hossein was buried. I took a flower and sat by his grave. After all these years, for the first time, I cried again. Not out of fear, not out of hatred. It was only out of compassion. With a voice full of kindness, I said, "Hossein, I forgive you because I no longer want anything or anyone to take me back there. May God help you, and may you find peace in your life in the next world." At that moment, I felt a warm breeze pass by me. A very faint voice right behind my ear said to me, "Thank you for setting me free." That was when I realized he too had been saved from the harsh world of Barzakh. From that day on, I tried to be a better person. I became kind to everyone in my life. I worked, I studied, I raised my daughters. Every now and then in my life, I saw and experienced that man in white with his usual smile. Sometimes I feel like he comes just to remind me not to stray from my path, so I don't forget what could happen to me if I end up in a bad place in the world of Barzakh. What I've realized is that if you do good in this world, an amazing world awaits you in the next. I'm exactly 55 years old now. I'm not afraid of death anymore. I know that one day I'll see that light again. Maybe this time without any fear, without pain. But there's still one thing I haven't forgotten. That final voice that told me, whenever you see a shadow beside you, know that your test still isn't over. Some nights when I turn off the room light and the moonlight falls on the walls, I see a shadow sitting right across from me, watching me. I'm not afraid of it. I just ask, is my test not over yet? But I never get any answer from that shadow. Well, friends, we've reached the end of the story. Thank you for staying with me until now. I have a question for you. Do you think this story was real and came from a near-death experience? Write your opinion for me in the comments section. Thank you for staying with me up to this point in the video. Again, thank you for staying with me up to this point. Until the next video and story, goodbye.